So tell me about Steve.
Man,
Let's go way back.
we'll start at the beginning if you'd like.
I'd love to. Way back.
Yeah, I'll go back as far as
Your memory will allow.
okay.
Or what you've been told from your parents or whatever. Where were you born?
Man, I'm from right here in Wilmington, North Carolina.
I don't have I don't have the history with it like you do. It's always interesting to hear the folks, the Wilmingtonians, talk about it. It's super cool.
Yeah, College Road being 2 lanes.
Sure.
That sort of thing.
Sure. I hear a lot of the actual Wilmingtonians say that the place kind of is very very much kind of like where I'm from, and then it started a little bit at a time, kind of growing, and then just boom. It just Well, do you think that was the inception of the university, or just the beaches, vacationing, or was it just an influx from northern cities, folks coming down, migrating down? It's just North Carolina's it's a great state. Wilmington's a great city.
Yeah.
It's small, but yet it's fun. And we got beaches. You're basically a couple hours from almost anything. So it's
Dude, we've got the climate. We're easy to find. I-40 just dead ends.
That's right. Tell me about your upbringing, your family. What kind of folks were your parents?
My parents are down to earth, real traditional, real modest. As an example, they live in the same house they purchased in 1970. It's small, man. It's like 1,200 square feet, but it's adequate, and that's the style of people they are. My dad runs a tree service. He started it in 1978. It's a real family business, man. It's always been uncles and cousins, brothers. Even my sister comes out on the job site sometimes. He's that type of boss that when somebody's going to quit because they took a job at Corning or they have to leave town or whatever it is, anybody that comes to quit or to say, hey, I got to move on, it's always with an apology. Like they respect him and like him so much because of the way he values time and good vibes way more than profit. He's not this profit guy. He's figured out the secret that everyday life is the value, if that makes any sense at all. My mom is really similar to my dad in that she's well liked and respected. She is Italian though, so if you don't like her, she might let you know how that makes her feel. I think one of the biggest lessons I learned from her is from her superpower. She can listen, and she is empathy. Like she's listening, and you can tell that she's taking in the information and wanting to help, wanting to respond with something to help you, not just something that she just can't wait to say back. She responds instead of giving a response. I'd say another superpower is helping Dad keep the books straight for the tree service. Like 40 years running, she's done all the paperwork, the payroll, the taxes, filing reports. She's kept it right. Without her, Dad would have struggled so much with that task.
The house that I'm raising my family in now, myself, my wife, and my 2 children, was built in 1967. And when it was built in 1967, it was 1 bathroom, 3 bedroom, and a kitchen. And there was a husband, a wife, and 9 kids raised in that house. Less than 1,200 square feet. So this is pretty. I think times were different, man. It was just different.
Yeah.
It was a different world back then.
No
it's
kidding.
really neat to hear about your father kind of hanging on to that. So what did an average, just to circle back real quick, because I think there's a little more to dig into as far as the role that your father played on you in your house. But so what did a typical day look like?
Growing up in the Hunt house, man, we had a foundation of family meals. We always had breakfast together. That was kind of a cheat that my mom used to get us all in the same spot. It seems like we were always up to something, fishing, baseball, surfing. My family placed a high value on spending time with each other. Dad used storytelling. He would always tell me stories of his past and things that happened in his daily life, and he was teaching me through those stories, that you always stand up for people, you always stand up for what's right.
Did you have a moment in yours and your father's relationships where you butted heads?
Oh,
You
yeah.
didn't see eye to eye? Was there like a time frame, or was it obviously you had disagreements? We
Yeah.
all have disagreements with our fathers, but was there just a very a time period where there was just a lot of friction? You just didn't get along. You didn't work for him. You were just like, I'm done with you, dude. Whatever. I hate you. You're dumb. We all
Yeah.
go through it.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that? What was that like?
Yeah. So right out of high school, I thought I had everything figured out. Like
We all do.
yeah, this is my world. I got this shit figured out. And Dad didn't agree with that. So we've absolutely butted heads. We were never hateful toward each other, but man, it was bad. We didn't get
It was
along.
just it was nonverbal disagreement. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
When I was on the job site, I wasn't respectful. Like I was a really bad employee for a minute, and so I quit working for him. I went off. I worked for this lot clearing company, and met some cool people. Got some experience on bulldozers and backhoes, and I couldn't have told you what a rubber tired backhoe was before I worked there. And then there I was running one.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I called him about 6 months later, and we got along. Like we had breakfast together,
Right.
but I didn't work for him.
Sure.
And he appreciated it, and I did too. So, but I finally called him. I was like, "Hey, I think I see the error of my ways."
Had that prodigal son moment.
Yeah, I said, "Can I come back? I promise I won't behave the same way." And he was like, "Yeah, I'll see you. See you in the morning."
Yeah.
Yep. So I gave the guy my 2-week notice, came back, and we still butted heads once in a while. But honestly, since then, the relationship was vastly different. Yeah, it was gold. But yeah, we had to go through our little don't get along phase.
So did you work after school and stuff like that? I know you were playing baseball and stuff like that, but was it on weekends you were on job sites with Dad, or did he not work weekends? And I mean, I'm sure you had some kind of you're a boy in a house. I'm sure you had some kind of chores and whatnot to do. But was there a lot of tagging with Dad on job sites and stuff like that you got to kind of
Yeah.
experience that part with him?
If I wasn't at school, starting at like 7 or 8, if he left and I didn't get to go to work, I was upset.
Okay.
I wanted to go.
Sure.
So I would wake up
And that
in the
continued
morning.
all the way up into high school
Yeah.
before your head clashing moment?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
I liked being around. The crew was so fun. It was mostly family, uncles and stuff.
Sure.
And cousins. Yeah, I wanted to go.
All right, so now we're out of high school, kind of moving on down the Hunt timeline here, the Steve Hunt timeline. So we're out of high school. You're back working with Pops. How long does this you working with your dad kind of era go?
Along about 2005, I was trying to talk him into like, hey, let's do the boat thing. Let's get you fishing. You put in your effort.
Sure.
You've got everything set up. And I think I was worried he was going to get hurt on a job site and have worked with no reward.
Sure.
And I ended up learning from him that the work was the reward, but that'll come later.
He never worked a day in his life.
Yeah, honestly, he loves it.
Yeah.
He has so much fun. So in 2005, 2006, right along in there, I talked him into retiring. So I buy the company from him, and he goes off. He starts playing softball, competitive, and I'm running the company. And then, as most people remember, 2008, 9, the housing bubble economy thing. So, yeah, the economy did its dip. Tree work slowed, but it stayed almost routine, It kept food on the table. That was a tough time for all involved. I think most people remember that one.
So, in between that 2008 period after you'd acquired the company and all that stuff, where did you stand as far as Steve Hunt's family life? What was that like then? By then had you been married? Were your kids along by then, or what? Where were you at
Yeah.
as far as that goes?
So married in 06.
06. Okay.
First child at 08. And
So you had a baby when you bought the business and all that kind of stuff, and
yeah, dude, it was stressful times.
Dude, I bet your
Yeah.
life was a whirlwind
Yeah.
for sure.
It was great and beautiful. Like things were good,
Sure,
and they weren't.
sure.
You know, it's one of those. Man, I think we all understand this idea, but it's things are going good, and you have things to be appreciative of. But then there's like these stressors poking you in the back. You know, sometimes you can put up a good shield, and other times they hurt. But yeah, Cohen comes along in 2008, and then the bottom falls out. Yeah, it was
wild.
interesting times.
What did your wife work?
She did not. When we met, she worked, did property management stuff, but then she didn't keep working.
Do
So,
you? Was that because of the birth of your child, or
honestly, I think it was my upbringing.
of course?
You
I
know?
was fixing to I was fixing to help you connect those dots
Yeah.
if they weren't connected already. If you thought
no.
that had anything to do with the just taking a step back and looking back into how your mom and dad's relationship operated.
Yeah, it was how the household worked.
Sure.
In my head, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep.
That makes a lot of sense. All right. So 2008, we're in a recession. Tree cutting business is not working real well. What in your brain and what tied you and made you want to go into in 2008 my beloved fire service?
Yeah, man. This part of the story gets tough.
Yeah. What I mean, there had to be something. I mean, I haven't heard anything from your past that ties you with the fire service. It's all been falling trees and being around the tree industry.
Yeah.
So where does the fire service come into this story?
Yeah. So I'll try to get through this one and keep the smile on my face. We'll go through a dark time here for just a minute. So 2009, 2008, and 9, two tough events transpired. I'm riding down Market Street, leaving the house we live in, and you remember Dorian Flowers?
I sure do.
I don't think he'll mind me dropping his name for this one. He calls me, and I answer the phone excited. Like,
Did you have a prior relationship with him?
oh yeah,
Okay.
we grew up in the same neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
go way back.
Okay.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it sure does. So Dorian calls me.
Put two and two together here. Dorian Flowers was captain in our small town department back then.
Yeah.
And he was actually head of the tactical rescue team. Just a super outstanding guy. Outstanding guy. So,
Yeah, the best.
Just for the listeners to kind of put these two together. Dorian was in the fire service. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So he calls me. It's that's around lunchtime, maybe a little bit later. And when I answer, I'm excited to talk to Dorian. Hadn't talked to him in a while. He sounds relieved. And it's like a weird moment, you know. So then now he feels funny. So he heard my voice on the phone, and he knows that the answer to his question was solved. He thought he was responding to me. And then, so he tells me where he's going and who he thinks is there, and he thought it was me, so he was just getting me on the phone.
So it was an emergency response.
Emergency
Oh,
response,
okay.
yeah.
So it was an emergency response that he was responding to personally?
Yep.
And then, okay. All right. So,
Yeah.
okay.
So now being in the fire service, I know that he must have had his MDT up,
Sure.
and then the family name was on the property.
Mobile data terminal.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. So, man, that conversation that transpired for the next few minutes was tough, and it guided a lot. Like it put things in motion, and so there I am. I'm riding down the road. Dorian calls, and he asks this weird question. It threw him off that I answered the phone.
Sure.
And he let me know that he was going to this property for this particular reason, and what would end up being my cousin had committed suicide.
Okay.
So it was one of those like, man, like the world changes in a moment like that, Yeah. So,
Did your cousin work with y'all? Was he
yep.
okay?
Yeah, like we had just seen him the previous week. We all did tree work together. And he was a Robin Williams type fella. Like the best, most fun guy to work with, hang out with, surf with, skate with, whatever. Like
So y'all were
outstanding.
tight. I mean,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And then if you have those high emotions, like if you're built that way, then apparently there's a chance that you can have really low emotions, So we just worked Friday together, and this was over a weekend. And I've learned now through training and through other events that happen, he was throwing red flags. Like I wasn't old enough. We didn't know. You don't know about these things. So that happened. The red flags that I now know of, they weren't red flags then. It was just Friday, So that was a tough call to get. That was 2008. In 2009, we had a miscarriage. So the only reason I even bring that up to tell you, it was two tough events that shook what was normal. If you've had children, a miscarriage is different than if you haven't had children.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you haven't had children, that won't make any sense to you at all. But if you have, it'll make sense.
Sure.
Yeah, so it shook what was normal to me, and it caused me to start thinking about the things that I valued, And I enjoyed doing tree work. The economy had slowed down, so everything was pushing me towards something different, a change, And I called Dorian, and I was like, "Hey, let's talk about the fire department," And he's like, "We're hiring," He said, "I think you'd be a good fit." So I put in an application.
Typical Dorian.
Yeah, yeah. So I applied in 2009, and it was driven by this. I didn't know yet, but it was driven by this desire for purpose. For lack of a better word that I can come up with, I was looking for some sort of purpose, something to, I guess, lean into or feel like I was being productive, because that was a time that it was like, man, what are we doing? Yeah. So luckily, the application goes through. I get the job, and then boy, it seemed like from December when I was told, you're hired, but the academy's not starting until April. That felt like so long,
Sure. Typical fire service.
Yeah. At that time, I didn't know anything. Like zero. When I got there and found out we ran medical calls, yeah, I was like, what? Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. It's funny now looking back, the surprise and the unpleasant response, it makes even more sense, because I still wish we didn't run medical calls.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then as soon as we get back, we're going to get into Steve Hunt's life in the academy and his indoctrination into the fire service.
Yeah, sounds good.
Welcome back. Make sure you go check out Primary Complete on all of your social media platforms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Smash that like button. Leave a comment.
Yeah.
Help us beat the algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're 2009. The inception of the mythical Steve Hunt into the fire service. 2009, bro, I was 4 years deep. So, into the academy. Let's go through. I want to start day one. What was walk me through your emotions. Day one. What was it like? And so forth. Go, day one.
We get there, we're all meeting in like this big open room, and we recognize each other from the application process. 400 and some people, whittled down to 21.
Did you say 400?
Yep, 400.
No, 400.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So now we've got 21 folks going through the academy, and we are meeting the chiefs, and it feels all wrong. every bit of it feels wrong. Like
I guess this was your first formal job, really,
yeah,
right?
after working in a family company where you can butt heads with your dad
Sure.
and still get paid. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you're the boss. Like in my world, up until the fire department, I was the boss. I priced the jobs. I ran the crew. Running the crew in a family-owned business just means showing up for work.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
it looks fancy on a resume that I was the foreman, but Uncle Mike never called me the foreman. You
Sure.
know what I mean?
Sure.
So
I totally get it.
yeah, yeah. So
Most
here-
firemen do. Yeah.
Yeah.
First day of academy. Day
Yeah.
starts what time?
7 a.m.
07. Okay.
Yep. The late great Captain Heath was our point.
Okay.
Yeah. So we did some team building exercises and kind of learned this idea of a paramilitary organization. They ran a good academy. You know, like
Who? I can't remember. I don't remember if it was your academy or a couple following. I can't remember which recruit class. Who was your PT lead?
Erskine.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
So that was. I got you. Okay.
Yeah, it was a weird setup because Erskine was in the academy with us.
But he was still your PT lead.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and it was just explained to us, and it was normal.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the listeners won't draw that parallel, but given Erskine's a background, it kind of it made sense from a benefit as far as the physical part of your training went, as far as the actual PT portion. But from an organizational standpoint, being on the outside looking back in, it was very frowned upon.
It's weird.
But it was a very interesting dynamic. I'll just tell you the climate of the department then, when when your class was coming in and so on. It was our classes had been relatively small. I think there was 11 in my recruit class, and I mean this is July of 05 ish. So I think there was 11 in my class. It was structured but unstructured, if that makes sense. All of us coming in were all certified, so we didn't have to go through the process like your class did and so on. So it was still a learning experience for the department itself. I think your class was probably the biggest one that we had ran up until that point. So just a little background to kind of help other listeners kind of fill in those little gaps in there.
Sure.
Having somebody within the class being the PT instructor, it was looked at very differently. Like he was already being put on a pedestal that I'm sure he didn't want by any means. I know Chad very well. I don't think he wanted that, and that was not the point of it, all of it. But welcome to the fire service.
Yeah, a super stud with a British accent.
Right.
Yeah, we were going to use him.
Sure.
You know, a
Sure.
small department. We are a small department.
Sure.
Yeah. So Erskine was running the PT.
Interesting. So anyway, so you get through first day, cool. What did you start immediately jumping into Fire 1 and 2 classes? Day one, just starting at the top of the list, banging your way down all those 1403s and all that good stuff, just
Yeah. So,
killing them, getting them away, running through indoctrination and so on, and getting certified.
Yeah. That was when I learned that we ran medicals because they put us through EMT first, and it was kind of we're putting you through EMT first because if you don't pass that, we're gonna let you go. So
It's another weeding out process.
yeah, bro, they crammed EMT into I think it was 19 days.
I remember this.
Yeah, it was something going from just
Sure.
doing tree work to learning all this EMT information. Yeah, that was tough, but
Learning all this life-saving
Yeah,
measures and all that
man.
kind of stuff. It was,
Yeah.
I'm sure, it's
yeah,
a whirlwind.
so EMT first, then the firefighter 1 and 2, all those fun classes. Then they kept going. They kept getting us like TR classes and
Technical rescue.
Yeah, technical rescue for you non-fire department personnel. Yeah, man, 7 months, 6.5, 7 months of academy life. I got my first structure fire with the department in that last 2 weeks. So they had given us all of our classes. We didn't have the ceremony yet, so they had these 2 weeks. So they put us out in these random assignments. I'm sure there was purpose, but
I remember it.
to us,
Sure.
it was random assignments.
Sure, I remember it.
So there I am down at the Federal Point Station, and got a good crew, and we respond to my first structure fire as a firefighter. It was awesome. Yeah, place was burning.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I want to back up just a smidgen. I
Yeah.
want to dive into this academy life a little
All
bit
right.
more.
All right.
What so you started with a class of 21. That was on day one in the auditorium, correct?
Actually, it was 25.
25
in the
Okay,
auditorium.
so it's 25 in the auditorium. How many graduated in your class?
21.
21. So you dropped 4,
Yeah.
correct? Is my
Yep.
math right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So did they drop throughout the academy, or was it EMT? You know, that 19, what did you say, 19 days?
Yeah, 19 days.
19 days was
Yeah.
did that weed some of them out, or how did that go? Kind of set the tone, and what was the attitude of the recruits going through the class? Were y'all getting closer? Were you kind of starting to figure out that, you know, it took all of you to kind of make your way through this class, or were you just Steve doing Steve?
Yeah.
And everybody kind of just
Yeah, we
fell to
started
the wayside.
pretty quickly figuring out like who was who, and some relationships started forming. You know,
your pecking order.
man, we had this retired, I think he was a retired battalion chief from a big department, and like day one of actually wearing uniforms, he was like, "Guys, I'm not doing another academy. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just not built for this." So we lost this guy that was like, we had already I didn't know what a battalion chief was at the time, but I knew this guy was wise and probably like one of our coolest people there, you know. And he walked off, and it was
that
like
surreal? I mean,
it
was that
was, man.
I mean,
Like-
was that like, oh snap? You know, this
Yeah.
is a serious thing.
Yeah, it was. The academy was rigid as far as my son was born the night before the academy started. Yeah, so I called and I was like, "Hey, can I like miss this first day or meet and greet or whatever? Like, we're at the hospital right now." And they're like, "Absolutely not. Like, one absence in this whole academy and you're out." And I'm like, "Shit's real around here." I didn't know anything about, you know. So I was like, "All right, I'll be there. See you in the morning." So
That's something to take note of.
I think it was a benefit to me going through that academy with zero experience. I was a sponge. Like,
Sure.
These guys were teaching me all this information, and I thought, this is important stuff. I need to know every bit of what they're telling me, and I'm just soaking it in, asking questions and getting it.
Along with all the the actual job education that you're getting, were you getting anything as far as firehouse etiquette, as far as anything like that goes, or is that just kind of organically happening within the group?
I would say the latter. It's more of an organic thing.
Okay, so it's just kind of already just kind of generating and, you know, building this thing where you're kind of, you know, you're getting tight as a group and you're going through all these experiences together, and
Yeah.
you know, going through these exercises where you have to use each other. I mean, you have to be there for one another, otherwise, you know, you can't get through it.
Yeah.
That's neat.
I will say one lesson that I learned in the academy that I feel like it's definitely worth noting. There was one guy in the academy that I did not get along with. Like, we just butted heads. Something about our personalities were not okay. I respect that guy now. He's in my top 3. And it's odd to me that you can be in an environment and know these people. Like, we all got tight, you know?
Sure.
And where I would have done anything for this guy, I didn't like him. You know what I mean? Like, we just just like rams wanting to beat each other's head in, and now for him to be in my top 3 of people that I respect, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's neat for sure. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we're through the academy. Built all these kind of great relationships and understanding of what you think the fire service is supposed to be.
Right.
What was your first assignment?
I got Rexboro. Yep. So at the time they called it Engine 13. That was before we had a big numbering switch. But yeah, so tailboard. I've got a good lieutenant, good driver. As soon as I got there, we started talking about training. Like that was our first conversation. So I had just been through months of it, but I had only run a couple of calls. I told you they put us on a rig for a couple of weeks, and I'm thirsty. Like, they're talking training, I'm listening. I'm ready to go. My second year on the rig, I got Rescue 18 for our department. At the time, it was a new rig with a new set of rules, and they just put 2 drivers on it, no officer. We had an officer in the house, but that rig ran everything.
Independently, kind of.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep. So Rescue 18 was responsible for medical calls, Delta level stuff, everything. And we got some numbers in. I got
It's a busy rig.
It was a busy rig. Yep. That was when I met my shift partner at the time, Trevor Alger. No, he won't mind me putting him on blast. We work together now. So we did 6 years together, and then had a little hiatus, and now we're back together.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get too much into depth with your career, let's talk about. Okay, so we got a little background on Steve coming up through the academy and all that stuff. What about the other life of Steve as all this is coming up? Obviously, there's at the end of the day, at the end of the academy, you still have to go home. How was family life going through all this?
Man,
you said when you first started, you got a newborn. So
yeah,
what's that like? I mean, going through a fire academy and the new baby and all that good jazz, and graduating the fire academy into the firehouse. I mean, how did the family dynamic play out with all that?
Yeah. So a couple of things are happening. The desired result was coming true. Like I was starting to feel in the academy, it's hard to feel purpose because you're not saving any lives.
You're not supposed to feel purpose in the academy. That's design.
I will say that there was a feeling of I'm learning stuff that's gonna kind of pay off. I guess what I'm looking for. I'm not sure what come off is. So during that time and the home life, it was improving because I felt like I was doing something, and I got this fresh boy at the house, and things are going okay. The financial stress was real. Like, we were making very little money in the academy, and because I was at the fire department, I told you my dad was helping with tree work. The financial side of that wasn't very beneficial. That was a little tension. And then home life, we're actually doing pretty good, but the financial stress is
building,
taking its toll.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So getting out of the academy was grand in that now I'm working shift work, and how many firemen do you know that do not have a side job? That helped financially speaking.
It allows you to have days off, right? You weren't going through an academy 5 days a week, only having 2 days off. So now you're on shift work, so you get some off days.
Yeah.
To go make real money.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. That helped out. And then getting the Rescue 18 spot, things felt pretty good, I think if I was going to look back and be super honest about that period of time, I was making the right moves and I was putting things in the right places. But now knowing the history, like now looking back at what ended up happening, I don't think I was paying enough attention to the financial stresses effect on the household. And during that time, man, there's stresses, financial stresses. The economy still hadn't done its uptick, you know. Yeah, 2012, things are getting a lot better, but I ended up getting separated in mid 2012, and it's fun looking back now. Like, oh my gosh, so much better off. Divorce is a terrible thing. I don't want to see anybody go through it. So many people will.
So that was 2012.
Yeah.
So you started the academy in 2008. So you had
2010.
2010. Okay, so this is 2 years deep. So you're probably 14 months or so out of the academy into the normal workflow. What I would describe as the normal workflow for, the fire service. Do you think the was it the financial stress compounded upon the new stressors of the job? I mean,
Yeah,
let's say you were with your original assignment for how long?
1 year.
Remind me, 1 year.
1 year.
Okay, so there's a bit of an adjustment there. Did you, looking back now, do you notice anything different as far as the way Steve was? Do you see that being different coming into the new job as a fireman versus Steve the tree man?
The 24-hour shifts, I think, was a big impact on the relationship.
Okay.
You know? And then finances. I made more money before the fire department. We get paid what we get paid. Everybody knows what it is. It's not grand, and she was used to more. So
Okay.
I would say the combination of being used to more and then the 24 hours gone, those stressors started adding up.
Okay. Kind of the snowball effect of, the financial, the lack of financial, or the newness of the financial situation, as well as the absence. Where we at on Rescue 18, after Rescue 18?
Yeah. So
Walk me through it.
Rescue 18 starts. Me and Trevor talk on the phone before our first day. And
Did you have priors with Trevor before?
no,
No?
that 2 weeks that I told you that we worked in the
Sure.
end of the academy, he was the driver on that rig.
Okay.
Yep. So it was just poetic that we would end up meeting. So yeah, we talked and kind of worked out the expectations, and we clicked right away. Something about our personalities. He's a really cool guy. That was probably the most important part. He told me in the first month, once we kind of settled down, and he was like, "Man, I'm glad you loosened up some. You had the personality of a wet mop."
Oh, typical Trevor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. So the separation happens in 12. Thank God for my work life.
Yeah, I was going to get into that. You said you spent 6 years with Trevor on Rescue 18, correct? How much of a role did the relationships in the firehouse play when it comes to when you went through that separation with the home life? Were they helpful? Were they beneficial? I don't know how much in detail you went with them, but what did the firehouse and the family dynamic in the firehouse, what role did that play with how things were panning out in the home life?
So home life was tough. I brought it to the crew. Like, it's like a family, man.
Sure.
So we had a really positive environment there. You know what? I won't say positive. We had a very
Interesting.
interesting and honest. We had an honest environment, So I let everybody know what was going on. I just showed up at the firehouse with my dad's car full of like clothes and stuff from the house.
So it was a hard separate. I mean, not like emotionally hard, but it was a hard break.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. It was like this certain day.
Okay.
So I brought it to the boys. They knew I was struggling. Work at the time, and I'm sure more people can relate to this, but work was where I went to be normal or safe, or I felt correct at work. And then when I was off work and in this home setting, I put on such a good front in that like early 2012, probably late 2011. I think I even fooled myself. You know what I mean? Like, we'll figure this out. Everything will be fine. And then when everything wasn't fine, the firehouse was safety. You know, like I showed up and it was like I could put my head in fire mode and go save lives and do stuff and you know, do have that purpose. What I was looking for was that purpose. And so when I got to work, things were good. Then when I got off work, things were bad. So in that 2012 era, the separation was like July. By September, so August was just like this kind of, I didn't know what was going on. You know what I mean? Then September hits. I would say that was probably the lowest of the low points, you know? So I learned a lot about, I learned things in September that I had these deals that I made with myself. Like, hey, if we can get through this, we're going to help some people in the future. That was how I made it through September. Was we'll get through it, and then we'll use everything that we're going through now, and in the future, when we're well, we're going to help somebody. And
So you took a positive outlook on all of your negative situation that was going on, and you chose to grow through it versus just kind of go through it. That's
that's
admirable.
thanks. It at the time it just felt like survival. I think I knew I needed a destination. You know what I mean? Like it was a in that period of time there was no destination. It was
Just wandering.
yeah, it was dark times. So I told you my cousin had his thing. I think once your brain acknowledges something's available, then suddenly it becomes available. You know what I mean? So I'll admit it. In that September period, I was absolutely considering suicide. Like that was my every night right before bed, I'd have this moment. It's like, hey, what are we gonna do? You know, we gonna give it another day, or are we gonna shut her down? You know, so for about 3 weeks, just me and a mirror would have a conversation, and each time the option was right there. You know what I mean? I could decide to leave anytime I wanted to, but the mirror moment, like, all right, let's just give it another day. Let's go another day. Let's see what happens. You know, so I talked myself into another day, and then we'd get through that one. It'd be okay, but the world still felt so heavy and wrong when I wasn't at the firehouse. So I made it through. I got through that day.
What do you think were some factors that helped you in that decision making process in order to give it another day? Well, what were the things you said? It was you in a mirror having a conversation. What were the things that you talked about with yourself?
Man,
I think I don't want to interrupt, but I think
Sure.
a lot of folks have this misconception of service members and people in our line of work, whether it be military, fire, EMS, cops, or whatever. They have this misconception of suicide being the easy way out, when in all reality, 100% reality, that's probably the farthest thing from the truth, because our purpose is to help others. We want to help. Deep down, we want to help others. We want to serve. We want to be of service to people. So doing harm to ourselves and taking that portion of our life away is hard. So it's a massive misconception where people, I believe they get it jumbled up. Well, they took the easy way out. Well, they took the easy way out, and I don't think that's true. I think that's probably the hardest line is to finally get over that edge. So what were the conversations? What was there? Was there key factors in that? Was there things? I mean, you have you have a beautiful son by this point, or daughter?
I have a son and a daughter.
son
at this
and a
point. Yep.
daughter at this point. Did they play a role in that? I mean, I feel as if they would for sure.
Yeah.
But so what dug you out of that? What made you say, okay, let's wait till tomorrow. If this is going to be something we're going to do, then let's do it tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you, standing there in front of the mirror, you're weighing out these two thoughts. So on the heavy side is this feeling that you've failed. You've set out for this goal. You were gonna be this person, and you stack on some failures, and they get heavy. And you can fake it, and you can push through, and do all the things that we do, and we're really good at. But it's just so damn heavy. So that's the one side. And to fix that, you've exhausted all your options in your head. I'm not saying this is real, but
Sure.
that moment in your head, you've tried everything, And then, thank God for the other side, I've got my family. I've got these kids that if I'm gone, they're going to have that story. They're going to miss me. I'm not going to be able to do these things for them. So this purpose, I need to be here for them. Honestly, maybe the fire service that's where I learned that purpose and learned and was able to exercise that purpose. Because on that side that was heavy, I didn't want to do it anymore. And it wasn't an easy way out thing. It wasn't meant to be mean to anybody else. Like, I wasn't trying to get at anybody. I just wanted the pain to stop. Like, I'm fucking tired, On the other side, I got these kids. I got my parents. I told you we do breakfast.
Yeah.
It's almost every morning that I'm not at the firehouse. I swing by the parents' house, do coffee, do the whole thing, and I appreciate it so much more now than I used to, but I've always had a certain level of respect for it, So, yeah, man, you got these real life and death seesaw effect going. And
Well, these demons fighting. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's demons fighting each other.
Yep. At the risk of jumping forward for a moment, we'll bring it right back. A lot of people do the mirror talk. The more I'm around human beings in the fire service and not in the fire service, a lot of people are doing the mirror talk, And because I brought it up, I feel it's necessary to say, once I got through that 3-week period, like I was just the darkest of my days, looking back now, I can't imagine if I had made that decision. Like a lot of us do, it's a shocking statistic, and we got to fix it.
Sure.
But here I am. I'm sitting here in front of you, and this side weighed out. Like they got me through that time. And man, I've had some fun. You know what I mean? At that moment, I thought everything was dark, and I made an agreement with myself to go through. I thought I was going to trudge through life. I thought I was going to just dig in, put my nose down, and just make it through for these other people. I thought it was just for Keenan and Cohen, and just for the parents, just for my crew, just for other people. I didn't realize that I'd find happiness and shake that off and be able to get through. I think the whole reason I wanted to stop for a second in this thought process is now looking back, that was heavy. I won't discount that heaviness any, but part of that heaviness was just not being able to see the chance of what the future was and the happiness and that was a temporary darkness. It felt permanent. It felt fucking permanent as it could be, and it wasn't. And I that's one of my current goals is to help people to get through that darkness and realize that this is temporary. We can fix it. They have these hotlines that you call, like the
Sure.
1-800s. I'm sure that they have a success ratio I don't know what the numbers are, but I can tell you that sitting there doing the mirror talk, I'm not calling a number. You know what I mean? Like, I think we're all different. Maybe somebody does. But for me, there was no way I was going to burden anybody with my problem.
I think that's very common,
Yeah.
very, very common,
Yeah.
that us as caregivers and service providers, the last thing we want to do is burden somebody with problems, with our problems.
Mm-hmm.
And that attitude of that, and excuse me, maybe not that attitude, but that mindset definitely plays throughout other aspects of life other than our brothers and sisters in the fire service for sure. But also just to elaborate on your point about the mirror talk, I definitely believe that probably every service member, fire, military, police, all of us, we all have mirror talks. I think if you're not having mirror talks, that might be something you need to address. But the understanding that there's a lot more of the stories coming out of the dark side, coming out of that hole, than there is of the other end of it, the suicide end of it, the whatever, the falling off the deep end of it. I believe that the success stories coming out and the clawing our way out of those are far more than the latter. The problem is just nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
There's not any talking about the success. Your story, for example, the coming out of the dark times. All you hear about is the other side of it, because that's more, for lack of better terminology, that's more clickbaity, that's more news. Uh, the wondering is more of the story than the coming out. And part of that, I believe, is just because they're not given a platform to talk about. I mean, you can rant on Facebook, but I mean, by the time you put a story like you just told into a Facebook post, by line 3, nobody's reading that.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be serious. Nobody's reading that until they're given a platform to talk about it, and you know, that's it's going to continue to be that way. So that's super cool. Obviously, I'm super happy that you were able to come out of that situation.
Yeah.
I think it's important for you to be able to talk about, and I commend you for being able to talk about it for sure. So we climbed out of this side of things. Where are we at now in our timeline? Let's see. So we're through the dark times with Steve. We're coming out on top. Babies are growing at home. Living the dream as a fireman. So where does that lead from there?
Man, I'll tell you, at the end of that darkness was bright light. Like, it was like it all came together, started getting some traction, and I had so much fun. I'm talking like the going through fun stuff with the kids, traveling, and I was still financially stressed in that 14, 15. Like, nobody was making a bunch of money. Nobody that I knew anyway. But I leveraged what I had, and we did the road trips and did some fun stuff. I was dating and having a lot of fun. Man, it's so nice looking back on this from where I'm sitting now. It was success, the fire department life was grand, still is grand. Me and Trevor stayed together through, I think it was like 2016. And then, I got promoted in 2017. So,
To driver.
captain. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, got the officer spot and glory. Yeah. Got my first structure fire with the new helmet almost right away. The guy driving, you know him very well, Beasley. He won't mind.
No, he won't mind.
Yeah, we left 17, heading to this report of a structure fire, and you know how it is. You hear the call, you can tell in the dispatcher's voice.
The tone, sure. Yeah.
You could tell in the notes, you know, like multiple caller or whatever, and we knew, like, this one's burning. And we also know that it's at the far end of the district, and we could easily get outrun by another engine, you know. Yeah. Beasley looks over while we're en route, and he's like, "Are you okay with this?" Because we were going pretty good, you know. And I look back, I'm like, best day of my life. And, yeah. So I'm getting ready. He's ready. And we got there first. Beautiful structure fire. It was chugging out of the eaves. Beautiful brown smoke. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. So drug a line to the front door. Had to force it. It was locked. Went in,
Just
got
all
it.
playing out like something in a manual.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Yep. I couldn't complete the 360. They had a tall fence that was locked up, so I climbed up on it and peeked down the Charlie side and met back at the front door. So as soon as we were ready to force that door, the second engine pulled up, so we had our 2 in, 2 out and blasted the door. It was nice, man.
Sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I'm telling you, from 2014 to now, it's been this ride there's been challenges. You know, everybody's got their challenges that come along. But I sure am happy to be here. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
it's a beautiful thing.
Cool. All right. With that, let's take a quick break. We'll come right back. And I want to get into your, so we're all the way up to date now. I want to get into a little bit about your aspirations for the future.
All right.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
Cool. A break. We're kind of caught up, but before we get going too far down into your aspirations for the future, there was another incident. I'm not gonna say incident, but there was another portion of your life that was kind of rocking for you, right? And I want to get into it. I want to talk about it. There was a situation that came up with you and your son, and like I said, I want to talk about it. I think it's very important to talk about multiple different reasons, but the biggest thing that I can gather from the biggest thing I can gather from the whole situation, I wasn't in contact with you as much as I wish I would have been. Now, kind of looking back, but I was in conversation with you throughout that.
You were.
I
Yep.
was. Not like I said, not as much as I wish I would have been, but I was talking back and forth with you on that during that a little bit. So I want to talk about it for numerous different reasons, but we can start into it. You know, if you're cool with it,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I think there's a lot of positives come out of it. There's not many people have to go through something like that.
Yeah, it's
But I will tell you before you start. I don't want to interrupt you, but I'll tell you the Steve Hunt prior and the Steve Hunt post they're different people. You carry the same name, but they're different people. So I don't think you can tell your story without telling this. I don't think this can be an absent part. I think it's a defining moment for you in your life.
it's definitely one of those before and after situations. So to address what you said, the amount that you communicated. So for other people, for anybody that's going through any sort of tough time, there's no perfect, there's no format. Like you have people, the things that you sent me, like hey man, I'm not sure I have any answers for you, but if you need to talk, just call me. Stuff like that, it weighs a lot. It's a nice thing, and those sort of things sprinkled about help the whole process. So now that I did the Quentin Tarantino method of saying something in the middle, I'll start at the beginning. So yeah, so June 5th, 2018. Is that right? Was it 18 or 19? 18, I think. 18. It's been a blur since then. So June 5th, a picture falls off the wall in my son's room. It's early in the morning, and his mom gets mad at him because it broke on the floor, you know. So he's defensive. He's like, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything wrong. So it turned out that the paint on the wall, it was one of those sticky hooks that holds like a picture frame or whatever.
Command hook or whatever it is.
Yeah. So,
They're not a sponsor, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. Not endorsing a product here, but it just pulled the paint right off the wall, and there was mold on the back of the paint that came off the wall. So by June 6th, a company has come to the house and tested the mold, and they have a policy that they take it and they test it and they tell you, oh, it'll take 3 days, you know. But internally, they have a policy that if it's bad, they call you right away and say, hey, you got some bad stuff in the house. So they call and tell us that there was multiple molds, but there was 2 main ones. Chetomium, which was the really bad one, and then penicillium, which was the common, like it's just everywhere. So for those that don't know, chetomium is this evil little mold that exists in the same family, like people call black mold. So chetomium is number 3 on the list of shit you don't want to mess with, right? It's just once it exists, if you try to clean it, you just make it worse. And when chetomium gets into your body, it's where it tries to go, like the end result of chetomium getting into your body is it goes into your brain and it attacks the myelin sheath. And in your brain cells, you've got I'm no brain surgeon here, but between the nerve ending and where the nerve sends the signal, that pathway is protected by the myelin sheath, and chetomium attacks that and degrades it. So the end result is very similar, the exact same thing as multiple sclerosis. So you start to lose control of different parts of your body depending on what part of your brain was affected.
Like big parts of your, like big functions, or just like fine motor skills, or
It's random.
So there's no rhyme or reason. It's just what you get.
Yeah.
You get. It's
Yep.
okay. So it's like a poker match with your brain and this mold.
Yeah, a little fun lottery.
Yeah.
Yep. So Keenan, for a couple of years, had these allergy type symptoms, and in the months leading up to June, he was having complaining of headaches and was getting dizzy, and he had these random symptoms that were inconsistent, to say the least. So in this, so June 6th, we get the phone call that chetomium exists in the house. By June 7, everybody's out of that house. So we start looking at his last couple of months, and we had been in and out of a couple of doctors. We were trying to figure out what these like random headaches and stuff were. So we had been seeking medical attention, but we didn't realize how serious it was. It was honestly, it was kind of like, is he just not wanting to go to school today? You know, like
Is he faking it?
yeah,
Sure.
Yep. So once we found out about the chetomium, and then started realizing, oh, so the symptoms might be related to this. So we start chasing doctors. We're going all over the place, and we finally found.
Just for point of reference, you're talking about you and your ex-wife.
Correct.
So okay.
Yeah. In a time like this, everybody gets on the front line.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. No, by
Yeah.
any means wasn't. Yeah,
Sure, yeah.
sure. I was just trying to. You were saying we a lot. I was just trying to
Yeah,
get the point of reference here.
Appreciate it. So we end up landing after 7 or 8 specialist trips. Those are frustrating, by the way.
Are these local?
Some. So just as an example, we went to this one allergy specialist, and he did the. Have you ever had an specific allergy test?
I haven't.
So they, you take your shirt off. I got a picture on my phone. I should show it to you. And they take this little device and basically do a microscopic little cut grid on your back. And then they take all these allergens and test it. And you can find out if you're allergic to eggs or bugs or lice or trees, anything. So I'm asking this guy, can we test for chetomium? And he's like, absolutely. And he leaves the room and he comes back with this paper, and it's got chemodium. It's another common mold. I'm at a doctor's office. My son's sick. The symptoms are fucking serious. And this guy mistakes chetomium for chemodium. That's not that big of a deal. I'm getting fucking mad. I'm like, hey, chetomium, I'll spell it for you. Can we test for chetomium? He's like, chemodium, we've got it right here. So now he's giving me a little bit of attitude. I'm giving him some attitude. I'm about ready to burn this fucking building to the ground. Like, just to give you an idea of the sentiment and what the emotions were like in this moment. So that was a wasted trip. We ended up finding this doctor. So smart, this lady. So she hears the story, sees the evidence that we presented to her, and she gets the kids in a separate room with a nurse, and she talks to me and the ex-wife, the mom. And she's like, hey, what you're dealing with, there's no solution. So stop chasing doctors. Stop going to doctors' offices. Stress on him is only going to make things worse. He's either going to beat this on his own or he's not going to beat it. So you're at a fork in the road. So her exact words kind of drown out in my memory, but the message was, you're at a fork in the road. Show him a good time. Hope for the best. If you keep stressing him out, then you're not letting his immune system help you in this battle, and you might lose. So we're leaving this doctor's office with your son might die or he might not. That got heavy pretty fast. So I told you earlier that I was doing the finance stuff. Well, by this time, luckily, my finances were starting to improve. The promotion had taken place, and tree work was doing pretty good. So I had a little bit of money. I refocused 100% of my energy into kind of a logical process of, if my son is going to pass away, we're going to make it right. Like, we're going to do it good. So I'm spending money, son. We're going on trips. We're doing everything. Went to Florida. Went fishing. We were making the most of it and building debt in a hurry. Yeah. So I didn't care. When you're faced with that,
it's irrelevant. Everything else is irrelevant.
It's absolutely, yeah. So part of that was not telling him. So we just leave the doctor's office. He had gotten so used to going to places, So we didn't tell him. We just pretended like everything was normal and went about our lives. And it was heavy, So we were doing these doing these trips and having experiences. That was the word I was looking for. And we built some memories, man. In my head, I knew that this thing might go the wrong way. The statistics, I shouldn't have done it, but I did some research. There was a university that did a study on chetomium exposures. There's this belief that chetomium is what causes multiple sclerosis among some universities. So one of those did this study. 20% of their study survived. 20%. So a 1 in 5 chance that he's going to make it is the number that goes into my brain. I don't know if that's right or not. You know what I mean? But
Sure.
At that point, I pushed the computer away, and I was like, no more. We're not going to do any more research. the doctor was right. Let's just focus on the positive. So, man, we're dealing with a fever, crippling headaches, and dizziness. Those were like the main symptoms. You'd be riding down the road talking about going to get ice cream or going. I told you we were doing all the fun stuff.
Sure, yeah.
So it was on this cycle, and his fever he always had a fever, but it would spike, like 102, then down to 99, then back up to 102. It was on this very consistent rhythm. I later found out that that's part of the body's like trying to kick it, and that was a good thing,
Sure.
So the symptoms of him having those headaches, having the dizziness, peaked in that like August, September range, and then started showing signs of improvement, which is a big deal,
Sure.
And then by March, we had the last really consistent symptoms, and it started to fade away. And now he's playing football. He's got his body mass back. He had gotten small. His color was wrong. He was kind of a gray. He wasn't healthy, But he was allergic to penicillium, which was a common mold that had his immune system down, and the chetomium slid right in, and had the boy beat down bad.
Sure.
Was touch and go for a while.
Sure.
We got through it. In that time period, I don't have to explain it to you too much, I don't think. I think anybody would understand that I was doing a lot of reflecting. And
I remember some very, very specific conversations that we had over that period, and it was,
Yeah.
I could tell you were struggling. You didn't have to. You didn't have to go into details. You didn't have to be specific in what you were dealing with. But it was, even through text message, I could hear your tone. And it was, I could tell you were hurting bad.
Yeah.
I'm a father myself, and I can't imagine I can't imagine. I have nothing to relate. Ear infections and getting tonsils taken out. What's that called? Tonsillectomy? Is that
Getting your
Yeah.
tonsils taken out?
Yeah,
Tonsillectomy.
tonsillectomy.
Yeah.
That's the that's the worst I got, man.
Yeah. I'm glad.
I know
Yeah.
tonsillectomy, the post tonsillectomy, it was rough.
Yeah.
But man, I can't imagine. I have no parallels. I have no way to relate. But man, my heart hurt for you bad.
Yeah.
It really did.
I appreciate it. I was riding down the road during that time, and I hadn't got my head right yet. Luckily, I did. But anything that's normal or anything that keeps you sane goes away. And I was riding down the road. I was near 17 Firehouse, and I called Bob Zine. I was like, I don't know which way's up. I need to pull in. And I was like, get everybody away. I can't see a human being, but I do need to talk, I went in there, and we had this, like, complete breakdown. Yeah. I'm so glad nobody filmed me, because, yeah, it was awful. Nobody wants to see cry face, right?
Dude.
Yeah. So, I went in there, had a complete meltdown. Those boys were good to me. Let me vent.
Good for them. Good for you.
Yeah. Dude, that firehouse, the family environment, that wasn't my shift. You know
Doesn't
what I mean?
matter.
No.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, being able to, in that moment, I didn't have like a normal, I didn't have something I could hold on to. And being able to pull in, go into a room, and just vent, let it out. You can make some stuff. Your head can get going, you
Sure.
know. So I left there. I honestly didn't feel a lot better, but the effects of that meeting carried me a little bit, And then I ended up having a few more of those, but it's interesting. I feel almost strange smiling so much now, but it's because it ended up right. But man, in the moment, oh man, it's a powerful thought thinking that your son's gonna not get through something. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I have zero way to relate. I can't imagine. Super happy for my boys
Yeah.
holding you down. Unharnessed mind without a way to, get rid of some of those thoughts and get rid of some of those emotions, man. It's a path to destruction.
Yeah.
It's a one way ticket.
Yeah.
One way.
Yeah. I wanted to solve it, So my first efforts were an effort to, all right, we're going to go here, 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 and we're going to get a plan, whatever it costs. We're just going to fix it, And
You're a man.
Yeah,
we fix things.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's
my
first
brain,
nature.
Yeah.
You got a problem? Cool.
Yeah.
We'll fix it.
Great. Yeah.
We'll fix it.
Yeah. I was okay when I thought we had a chance to fix it, and then when that chance withered away, I went to I got my original 18 chat group, I went in there and I didn't want to say anything, but I knew I needed to, and it's almost like going to the firehouse, it was like the same boys, and I remember just sticking it in there, and it was kind of like I just lobbed it, and it worked. I don't know why, but just talking about something, even as serious as that was, the mental status, carrying it, and just, I got this, I'm going to do it myself, versus putting it in this room and being able to hear some encouraging thought, hear a joke. You know what I mean? Like,
somebody's throwing out some dark humor somewhere.
yeah.
Have to.
The fire service is so good for that.
Yeah, they
especially in that chat.
Yeah.
They have to. They have to.
Yeah. So, man, we got through it. Keenan pulled through.
Fantastic news.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best. The best.
It sure is. It changed my point of view on a lot of things, changed value.
Yeah, it's just like I spoke to you at the previous of the story. The Steve Hunt going in, and then the Steve Hunt coming out is they're two different people. I love both of you dearly.
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
I miss parts of the old Steve, but I very much welcome the new.
Yeah.
It's the best of both of you.
Yeah, I appreciate
for
it.
sure. Wow. So, future.
Man, welcome. Look at this place.
For those just listening, he's opened his arms up to our beautiful studio here.
Yeah.
So, what are just for the sake of steering it? Where do you feel that the impact can be brought to the fire service and people, not necessarily specifically who are going through the same thing, but can relate so well to all the struggles that we all go through? What do you believe? What's your passion and your draw to want to do that, to want to bring these things to life? There has to be a gravitation that says, I want to do better. I want to help people. I want to provide content. I want to provide help. I want to provide an outlet. There has to be something. Where did that come from?
Man, I touched on it in a little, but being able to pull into the firehouse and being able to put my problem in that chat room, it was powerful. I mean, communicating, just being able to communicate. And the more I went through it, the more I realized that this is what's missing from so much society as a whole.
Sure.
Definitely the fire department. I mean, I think it was a part of just looking back through maybe the last decade, the path of the up and downs, and each time the firehouse pulled, like it was my success. Every time that I had a win or a victory in something that was not right, the firehouse was related in some way. And statistics are up, man. There's problems in the emergency services, paramedics, firemen, police. Suicide numbers are up. I think we can fix it. I think there's just the story I just got through telling, that's mine. But there's a lot more stories out there there's some success stories and there's some failures. I mean, I'm lucky. I honestly feel like the luckiest guy within this side of the Mississippi. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
I've had some battles, and I don't want it to be just because Steve Hunt got lucky. I get to now carry it through, and I made that deal with myself in that September. Like, we're gonna move forward, and I'm so excited about it in an odd way. It's like I know there's gonna be some pain in the future, but I want this smile on somebody else's face that's in that dark moment that I know what it feels like. They teach you in these classes, like, don't ever tell somebody, I know how you feel.
Sure.
I know what the risk is. I know that if you're sitting there, you're like, oh, there's no way you know what I feel like. I think in that moment, if somebody said, hey, I know how it feels. I've been through this, I would have been looking like, please help me. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I think we can do that. We can make these conversations and provide this environment for just communication.
I believe that a big part of this is just coming from your story. If you'll notice and you just replay through the entire conversation, the entire even however long we've been going now, but how many bad runs have we talked about? How many bad calls have we talked about? How many situations that were specifically to own the job have we discussed? None. Not one. And I think that's a giant missing piece, is that this whole mental health and this whole mental focus and mental wellness aspect is so compacted and surrounding our job and the things we see at work and the things we deal with at work with our coworkers and our calls and the members of our public. That's only a third. I mean, if you break it down into a lifespan, that's a third of your life.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pieces left. And so you take the stuff that we deal with at work, which if you ask me, yeah, there's some hard calls, but I'm just like you, man. Work's not hard for me. I love coming to work. Give me the bad calls. I love it. I love my boys. But the disconnect from my boys when it comes to a bad situation at home or a bad situation outside where I can't reach out and grab my boys, that's hard. That's real hard. And it might not be something as severe as your situation, but it's just where my boys aren't there right then. A bad situation or bad call at work, my boys are right there. We get back to the firehouse, we sit around the kitchen table, our dark humor takes over, whatever. Yeah. We're coping. We're coping. That's easy, man. That's real easy. But take a minute situation and segregate a member to deal with that by himself. That's a whole subject that's not even talked about. It's the mental health within the fire service itself as it relates to the job is starting to come to the forefront. But the disconnect of what we deal with for the other 2/3 of our life, the home aspect, the personal demons, all those things, they're not sexy. They're not something that somebody can coin. They're not something that somebody can put a tag on and, for lack of better terminology, become the focus group. It can't, just because there's just not that area is not there. So, I mean, your story is a great example, and we all have them. It may not be as severe as Steve Hunt's story. It may not be Matt Hoffman's story, but there's a story to be told. We all deal with our own struggles outside of the fire service. Sure, there's bad times in service, but those kind of, if you have the right mindset and the right set of guys, that stuff works itself out. It's going to.
Yeah, I like your quick math on the 1/3. I did a little fact checking while you were talking, and I actually agree with that. Like, I've been on calls that weren't fun.
We all have. I mean,
Yeah. There's no doubt in my mind that there's some bad calls out there that affect people in a very real way. I've got a little short list of them. You know,
They suck.
It's a third. Your point is great that we're, for lack of a better term, we're ignoring that these are human beings with their own life struggles that are also stepping up and wanting to be servants for the community, and then they get that third, you know. So there's a lot of truth to your quick math. I appreciate that. Yeah, man. The 2/3. If you just take my quick story, divorce, 6 kid, and then add in a third of just running some calls. You know, there's some things that communication can just help you get through. I mean, it's I so look forward to the environment of having. I want to have some guests on here. I want to have some people to come in, not that cliche. All right, here's Dr. So-and-so is going to talk to us about suicide numbers. I'm not trying to hear that.
No.
Even in my dark time, I wouldn't have listened, I don't think. You know what I mean? But a brother, you know, somebody that's like just wanting to help or just listen. I heard one time this preacher gave a sermon, and he was talking about in somebody's time of need. And his example was he went to the hospital. A family member had another family member in the ICU. And he just went down there and took a paper, sat down on the bench next to the fellow that was there. If I remember right, it was his wife that was in the ICU. And he was just there. He read his paper. If the guy needed anything, he could have asked him. And he told him, he's like, hey, I don't want to get in your way. If you need anything, just ask me. And it's a pretty good example. Like, just having that non-rigid, non-structured conversation or opportunity for it, or just a good time, you know. I'm pretty excited. Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you want to add about the future?
Man, I honestly have this image of holding a cell phone, looking at this in a year or in 2 years, and thinking, "Oh, look, there's the first one."
God, we were so dumb back then.
Yeah, look how nervous I look. Yeah.
Oh man, I definitely look forward to it for sure. I appreciate you letting me interview you. That's tough. It's tough.
I'm shocked that I made it through. I thought sure that I was going to end up buckling a little bit.
No,
but I sailed right through.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I think seeing this communication and things to come, it feels right.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, good times.
All right, brother.